I'm full screen. You know what that means. It's a sit-down rant. I am not satisfied. I have much displeasure, much disdain for my experience with the Dell financial team in trying to secure an Alienware computer because my current computer is on the verge of a meltdown. 5 days, 7 reps later, and they finally tell me what the issue was with verifying me. I passed the credit check, no problem, got approved for almost $4,000. But my phone number with the credit bureau didn't match the one I provided them with. I'm sorry, it's been this phone number for years since I first moved in. This is the phone number. But because I don't own this home, right? My name is not on like the utility bills and all that stuff. It's not on the phone bill. I just pay rent here, right? So apparently that's a problem. You know, it's really funny. They've known the entire time, 5 days ago, that that was an issue. But it took them 5 days, 7 people, to tell me that I should call the credit bureau company and update my phone number so I can go through this process again. I have spent nearly 4 to 5 hours in total on the phone with all these multiple reps. Send me your driver's license. Send me this, that, and the other thing. They even at some point said, we're going to call you on your house phone to verify that it's the same number that you provided us. I said, okay. So the phone rang. This was on day 4. This was yesterday. I pick up the phone and I'm like, yeah, it's me. It's Phil. They're like, okay, what we're going to do now in this case is we're going to hang up and we're going to call you back again. I said, for what? To make sure that it's the same number that you provided us on your application. I said, well, you just did that now. That's what you just did 5 seconds ago. Sir, we cannot provide personal information over the phone. I'm not asking you to disclose anything. You just called me now. The number that you just called me on is the same number I provided you on the application form for the computer. Sir, just hold on. Oh my God. So they hang up. They tell me that they're going to do it and call me right back. Yeah, I waited 7 hours. They never called me back. And then that's when I finally got the message today. It's that they've been diddle-daddling, procrastinating this entire time because they didn't want to tell me that the single issue with this entire process that's been causing the delay is that my phone number that I provided them with didn't match the one again on record with my credit bureau company. You know, like in Canada, there's like Equifax, there's like a few different ones. So I have a phone number on that file, but because I'm poor, like I said before, I've made it very public that I've been on disability for a long time. I've gone through different phone numbers like Magic Jack's, different phone numbers over the years. The hell if I know what phone number they have. I've never provided them with one, right? But supposedly all I need to do is call them. Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way because I looked it up. It's actually quite complicated to update your phone number with Equifax or anybody else for that matter. And the fact that it took them 5 days and 7 reps to finally build up the nerve to tell me what the issue was the whole time, I probably could have had the thing half rectified by now. You know, it would have been nice because my payments were going to be like $80 a month. If I paid off the computer within the first year, it's interest free, right? I could have had a chance at getting a very nice computer without having to pay all the money up front in one shot. But unfortunately, they wasted their time. They wasted my time, like I would have done much more with my time anyways, but I probably would have. So now I have to deal with my computer, like I said, from 2014, which is really starting to show its age in terms of performance. I struggle to run games sometimes at even 30 frames if it's a computer game. If it's my PlayStation 5, oh, it's no problem. I can record and everything at 60 frames. But if I'm playing like a basic computer game, I absolutely have to drop like the resolution of my camera. Um, I've got to drop the frames down to 30. I mean, it's still watchable, but I'm just saying it's really annoying having to flip flop between that just to kind of cut corners to alleviate the stress off of my computer. I mentioned this in one of my live streams, that running that DSLR camera, running the streaming software that I'm running, OBS Studio, a lot of people are familiar with that program. That alone, with the microphone, it all takes up a little bit of the CPU usage. It takes up the same amount of power as running a game like World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, right? So I'm like double stressing my CPU. And again, that wouldn't be a big deal if it wasn't like 6, 7 years old. It's an i7 6700, in case you're curious. My graphics card is decent. I picked it up last year in March, right before the first lockdown that we had here in Canada due to COVID. And that set me back a lot of money with like the warranty and all that. And I got like the higher end RTX 2070 Super. There's like different brands and stuff like that. And this one seemed to be the best one. Well, it set me back like almost $1,000 Canadian, right? So I did that in one shot cash. And then I was like, you know what? Eventually, when the time is right, I'll spend like about $2,000 Canadian is what it's going to cost me to build a computer from scratch, every part minus the graphics card, because I'm sorry, my 2070 Super is good enough for what I'm doing. And yeah, I'm just really, like I said, frustrated because I was really looking forward to having the peace of mind of knowing that this computer was coming and I was going to be financing it. I was actually going to use it like a console in the sense that I was probably still going to have my old computer potentially just for the fun of it to test it for a couple of days, to have it just streaming alone and use the new Alienware for the gaming part, right? Kind of like how I do the PS5 in the computer, right? Obviously, I put the PS5 through the capture card that gets picked up by my computer, which is why I have no issues streaming or recording at 60 frames, whatever, because my console's doing all the heavy lifting. My computer is just doing the streaming/recording. So if I would have had that Alienware, I'm sure it would have been powerful enough to do everything. But I've heard through the grapevine from some fairly big streamers, even with money not being an option, where they're running two computers. So it's not always a question of money. It just seems like that's a thing people do. I was probably not going to do that long term. I was just probably going to try it. And then I was going to obviously, part off, my computer a little bit to make a little bit of money to recoup the cost. Because in total, like I said, with the graphics card and then what I need to build, it's $3,000 Canadian. So about $2,200 US for something that's suitable, adequate, that's going to last me a while so I can just do 1080p, ultra settings, 60 frames a second. I can't do that with this computer. I could play the games without the streaming and the recording, no problem. I can run Red Dead Redemption 2 on high to ultra, like a mixture of those settings, and run the game at 60 frames. I get the odd dip here and there down to 54, 55, but it's actually pretty smooth. And if I turn down a few settings, it's a rock solid 60 frames per second. Just don't ask me to stream or record that, like I said, right? Because it's just too much. So, anyhow, that's my rant with Alienware and how terrible they are at communicating. They wasted my time. They wasted their own time when they could have been dealing with other customers. They should have been more upfront and forward with what the issue was with the verification process, with my pending order. And like I said, an entire business week, I could have probably contacted Equifax by now, and I probably could have rectified, the issue with the phone numbers not matching. And I could have been on my merry way, but now I'm so mentally exhausted and drained from this whole experience. I'm completely turned off that I'm probably going to spend, the next several months kind of like piecing together, a computer. I'm going to start like putting some money aside, which is something I'm not really good at doing because you usually need money to be able to do that. I do get a little bit of money, but I'm just saying with my disability taking half my YouTube earnings, it's kind of shitty. I could have had a computer by now if it wasn't for that. So I do get an extra couple of $100 a month, don't get me wrong. But, like I said, I've spent a lot of money like this microphone, the audio interface, the light, the DSLR camera. I've mentioned that before. I've spent uh, well over $1,500 on my setup for YouTube. Even my green screen that I had that I put away temporarily for now, that was almost like a couple of $100 with the taxes, right? Right now, I'm using a photography reflector as a background because even running the green screen, that's intensive on the computer, on your CPU. And I need everything I can to reduce the stress. Like even that fancy glow around the border of the screen that I normally have. Yeah, that's not happening anymore. That takes up like 7% of my CPU alone. So having that in the background, it helps with what I call visual noise. You know, those people, they have a nice light, they got a nice camera, but they got like a bunch of just shit in the background, and it's like very distracting. I find this just looks a little bit cleaner. I would have had it without all the cracks to make it look like a broken golden glass, but hey, it was free, so I wasn't going to complain. It's just something solid. It takes up a lot less room than my green screen, which almost took up half my room for crying out loud. Yeah, so now I'm just ranting, rambling, and venting. But this was therapeutic. I'm glad I was able to share my experience with you for the 2 people that'll watch this video. And I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. Like I said, they ended with, if you can use another payment method, we'd be glad to have your business. Well, of course you would. Yeah, let me just pull out the $3,200 required for the computer. If I had that, I wouldn't have applied for the financing. Well, I mean, I probably still would have, but you know what I mean? Because, I have to pay everything up front. Yeah. So wish me luck that I'm able to get by with buying the new games and staying current with my channel, but yet still making enough on YouTube and with the deductions from my social worker that I'm able to put some of that money aside, like I did with some of this, but I'm still technically paying the store for some of this stuff. That I'm just able to do that so that in the following months, maybe late spring, early summer, by then I can really build something. I can go to a computer store even with the lockdown. I'm able to order the parts online, like call them and tell them, these are the parts that I want. And then they'll like send me sort of like an invoice and then I pay for it. But they're made aware of the parts that I want beforehand, if that makes any sense. That way they're able to like make sure all the parts are compatible. They'll build it. It'll only take literally a couple of days. They're only charging 60 or $70 Canadian for the labor to just build everything. I generally do the actual building, but lately I've been really stressed out. I want to treat myself to building my own computer, but not actually physically partaking in putting the parts together. I can't be bothered, to be honest with you, to do it this time around. It'll be the first time in my life that I get somebody else to do it for me, but I don't care. Arguably, I'll get a slightly better computer. It'll probably be a little bit bigger, but it'll have certain specs that are actually a little bit better than the Alienware at a cheaper cost. Though not much cheaper, because that Alienware was actually on a really, really good sale. Where I'm going to save almost $1,000 is that I'm not going to be replacing my RTX 2070 Super. I think it would be kind of foolish for me to do at this point. That's really not a priority. I don't 4K game. I don't give a crap about 4K. I prefer HDR. I prefer solid 60 frames per second, ultra settings at 1080p. Hell, even high settings, to be honest with you. It can be really hard to distinguish between ultra and high sometimes. And quite frankly, in closing, I only play a handful of games on PC. Things like sometimes like World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, I prefer the mouse and keyboard on the computer. A couple of real-time strategy games I prefer using with the mouse. That's about it. The rest of my gaming is actually done on the console, so I don't really need a monster computer, but I do need something that's reliable, especially since I'm doing this full time and I'm actually making money. So, anyways, I could go on forever. We all know how good I am at doing that, and I don't want to do that. Hopefully, you're all having a good day. And maybe I'll have 4 people, 5 people maybe in my live stream a little bit later. That's very therapeutic for me. I got couple of regular peeps that like to come in, chat, hang out. We have a good time. That helps me decompress and relieve stress and all that kind of stuff. All the good stuff. So yeah, as always, you know it's coming. If you like the stream or the video, give it a thumbs up. You didn't like it? Go ahead, give it a thumbs down, and I'll just snap it off in your ass. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, naturally that would be great. But if not, thanks for stopping by anyways. Take care, boys and girls, or whatever it is you identify as, and maybe I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.